Hey guys, and welcome to the 100th episode of Shack's Arcade Corner. So for this episode, I wanted you guys to ask me questions about like retro arcade games or really anything. I went to Twitter and our community as well as our staff, and you guys asked me questions, so I'm just here to answer them. Is 100 episodes. That's a lot of episodes to me, really a lot of episodes. So our first question is from Captain Zorich on Twitter, who's a very loyal fan. He watches all my videos. Really appreciate the viewership. Captain Zorich, you're an awesome guy. Thank you so much. Is there an anime series you would like to see turned into an arcade game? As of right now, I don't know because I don't watch any anime right now. But in high school, like I would have killed for a Dragon Ball Z like fighting game. It was really hard to find like kind of anything Dragon Ball Z game related that wasn't an import on the PlayStation, and you had to have like a specific PlayStation to play it, but there were like no anime fighting games that I knew of in the arcades. I knew there were a ton of import titles. I saw a Sailor Moon fighting game once on the Super Nintendo, and that was really it. There was really nothing, which is disappointing because looking back now, there were a ton of opportunities, not only with Dragon Ball Z, but like with Full Metal Alchemist, I think would have made a great fighting game. There's like that anime with like the puppet fighters things. That thing would have been a great fighting game. I think there were a lot of missed opportunities in terms of anime fighting games in the arcade scene, especially in the 90s. From our community, we have Axeman808, who asked two questions. Would you play a stand-up game for $0.25 or a sit-down version next to it for 50 cents? If you're talking about Kid Me, I would play the stand-up version for $0.25 because Kid Me had, you know, we only had so many quarters and those things were like gold. So you wanted to get the most out of your money, right, by playing as many games as possible. And I was terrible at arcade games, so I wanted to take those 10 quarters and make them last however long I could make them last. So to answer your question, X-Man, probably stand-up game for $0.25 to save the extra quarter on the sit-down version. Axeman808's second question is, were you shocked by the coming of era of games having ends, regardless of how well you did? No, because the big thing is I think that transition happened very slowly, like very slowly, as slow as you could possibly go. And I think the transition was slow enough to where people adjusted at an even rate. And our very own man with the briefcase asked me some questions as well. Asif Khan asked, what's my favorite arcade game? That's a hard question. So if you're going in terms of just time spent on arcade games alone, I think it would be a close matchup between The Simpsons and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I think those two games I spent the most time and money on growing up as a kid and teenager. The Simpsons I just always played, period. Whenever that was in the corner, I would just run in and just play the hell out of that. I mean, all my money would just go into that machine. And it was everywhere, so it was really easy to find. And then as I got older, I got into fighting games a little bit more specifically the Marvel fighting games, because like X-Men was everything to me back in the 90s. And when Marvel's Capcom 2 came out, every single time that was in an arcade cabinet, I would just spend hours there. And I loved that game. I didn't really understand the fundamental mechanics of it. I mean, I would press buttons and understand how to do supers, but I didn't understand the depth of like the strategy of using, you know, certain characters with certain assists. And I would always use Jill Valentine, Venom, and Iceman, period. That was my team. It didn't matter if they were terrible, I just liked using them because I was a huge Resident Evil fan. I liked Venom, and Iceman's one of my favorite X-Men characters, and I would play them all the time. So it would be The Simpsons and Marvel vs. Capcom 2, probably a tie. Now our staff asked me a few questions as well. What games are you most proud of beating in the arcade? Well, I never beat any. The only one I think I ever beat was Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and that's because I would throw money at it until I got to the final boss, and then that was the only arcade game I've ever beaten start to finish. I don't think I ever beat The Simpsons. I don't think I ever beat X-Men. I never beat any of the side-scrolling shooters, Metal Slug. I never beat The Simpsons. I never beat Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I just never did it. I don't know why. I was kind of spazzy as a kid. I know, shocking, right? I was kind of spazzy and had a very short attention span, and like once I kind of died twice to something in the beat 'em up or the shooter, I just kind of lost interest. I'm gonna go to another machine. I didn't have the patience or the time or really the money to keep pumping in quarters because I was terrible at the games. Like I said, when I was that age in the 90s, I really didn't understand the concept of game mechanics, like, oh, like, this is what you're supposed to do in order to win. It was just kind of like, I'm gonna run in, play my favorite characters, or just spam the button, jump around, try to kill as many things as possible. I didn't learn patterns like in Metal Slug or where enemies spawned. I just ran for it and just shot a bunch of stuff. So I never beat really any arcade games. The only arcade game I ever beat was Marvel vs. Capcom 2. It's the only arcade game that I can remember that I beat. start to finish. Our very own man with the briefcase asked me, do you think VR arcades will have a future? I'm probably gonna get fired for this. No, I don't think they have a future. I think they have a future in terms of going into a store, like, you know, a Best Buy or an Apple store or like a GameStop, and then like trying out the products to see if you might like it, you know, at home. But I don't think the arcades have a future for one very big reason. I think they're disgusting. Like, I mean, you're putting on a headset, you know, that like all these other people have put on. It's not like an arcade stick or a steam where you can kind of wipe it down. Like, you're putting this on your face. And like, there would have been multiple people using this all day, and arcades, even today, you get really sweaty. So no, I don't think they will be a thing just because of sanitary reasons. I think that wearing that headset after so many people have tried it on or they're getting sweaty in arcades is literally disgusting. And then my last question is, what arcade games would I like to see rebooted? A lot. What I want to see brought back is more sprite-based fighters. I don't want to see stuff like the Ninja Turtles arcade reboot, which was like really terrible, because when you make a 2D game with 3D models, it takes away a lot of the charm that it had. I think in the 90s arcade games, they just looked good. I mean, you were playing a cartoon essentially, which was fantastic. I remember they did that reboot for the Ninja Turtles arcade game, and it was just, I didn't like it at all. It was just terrible. I mean, the characters felt weightless. It didn't hold any of the nostalgia for me because all the character designs were awful. But I would like to see more sprite-based fighters and more sprite-based brawlers make a comeback. And you guys, thank you so much. 100 episodes. I'm really happy I got this far. I want to thank everyone for their support and their viewership, to me, to Shacknews, and to the show. So if you liked the video, make sure to rate, comment, subscribe. I now have 100 videos in my library, so if you haven't seen them, you can click on the playlist below and go check them all out. So once again, guys, thanks for everything, and for more videos like this and everything else gaming related, be sure to stop by shacknews.com.